Marvin Gaye was visiting his parents' home here in Los Angeles. There was a family argument.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down our picks for the harrowing facts that you may not have known about some famous singers.
In the early years, when I was 14 and 15, you didn't like to share him, but you did. You understood he was Elvis.
Number 10, Eric Clapton's lineage.
Well, I'm a motherless child, I don't know right from wrong.
From his decades-long career in bands like the Yardbirds, Cream, and Derek, to his iconic guitar style, Eric Clapton is a rock music icon. While his talent and musicianship gained him fans in the early days, the internet helped give later fans access to everything they'd want to know about the English rock and bluesman. However, Clapton didn't always know everything about himself growing up.
I knew that I was different. I knew that other kids at school regarded me as different or maybe inferior, and I did have a massive inferiority complex.
Till he was 9, Clapton thought his grandmother and step-grandfather were his parents, and his mother was his sister. His mother was 16 and unmarried when she had him, while his father was a Canadian soldier who returned to his home country before Eric was even born. Clapton reportedly only found out the truth when he overheard a neighborhood conversation.
At that point, I mistrusted everybody, including my grandparents. I was so confused. It seemed to me that my life had been a lie.
Number 9, Eminem's family lawsuit.
We have a problem, Marshall. The past 2 years, something really went wrong.
Marshall Mathers, better known as Eminem, has been praised in the music world for his honest and hard-hitting rapping. One person quite close to him, however, was not too fond of his music.
When you can't go to the mob for being spit on and being called, you disgusting pig, it's sad because people are passing judgment by listening to Marshall's songs.
In 1999, Eminem's mother, Debbie Mathers, sued him for over $10 million. She claimed that the lyrics in his songs, particularly from the Slim Shady LP, where Eminem accused her of using substances and neglecting him, are untrue and defamatory.
I want to just get him in a room and sit down and say, look, you've got to stop this. I mean, your anger and your hostilities towards me, what have I really actually done to you?
Ultimately, the case was settled, with Debbie being awarded $25,000, which only amounted to $1,600 after her legal fees. Number 8, the death of 50 Cent's mother. Fans of Curtis Jackson, known professionally as 50 Cent, will tell you that growing up was far from easy for him.
When I say I was hustling at 12, it was between 3 and 6 when my grandparents thought I was in the after-school program. It wasn't like just being out there.
Much of the rapper's music covers themes such as street life, survival, and poverty, with these struggles starting quite early in his life. In the early 80s, when 50 was only 8 years old, his mother, Sabrina Jackson, died in what was a suspected homicide.
My grandmother sat me down and explained to me, your mother, she's not coming back, and she's in a better place. And for a while, I would still be like, like while I'm outside playing, I'd be like, yeah, when my mother come, we're gonna do, because it didn't register.
It's believed that Jackson was drugged and left unconscious in her apartment before it was set on fire. Unfortunately, no arrests were made, and her killer remains unidentified to this day. After his mother's murder, 50 moved in with his grandparents, where he lived with 8 other relatives.
This what kind of got me away from them upstairs. The basement, even though it was big, it was small, it was bad. I was really running away from having to deal with people.
Number 7, Whitney Houston's sexuality.
Bittersweet memories, that is all I'm taking with me.
Although Whitney Houston will be forever known for her cover of I Will Always Love You, we may not ever know the full extent of the late singer's personal life. Despite rumours and the scrutiny surrounding her close relationship with longtime friend Robin Crawford, Houston never fully addressed her sexuality before her death. In 2019, however, Crawford confirmed that she and Houston had shared a romantic and physical relationship when they were younger.
It was just embracing everything that we had shared.
Yeah.
And it was our moment.
Yeah.
No one else was there, but maybe the creator.
In her memoir, A Song for You, My Life with Whitney Houston, Crawford goes in depth about how their relationship ended due to concerns it could affect Houston's career and pressure from her religious mother.
We inscribed on the back of the Bible that she had given me that we would be loyal, honest, trusting, dedicated, and support each other.
Number 6, Britney Spears' conservatorship.
A lot of yoga I'm really disciplined with, and I like kickboxing. It's fun. I like to punch, so.
And when you're hitting the bag, is there anyone's face you've got in mind?
A couple of people.
For 13 years, pop princess Britney Spears was forced to live under a strict conservatorship controlled by her father, Jamie Spears. Despite releasing multiple albums, touring worldwide, and headlining a Las Vegas residency, Spears had almost no autonomy. She had no control over any of the money that she was earning and wasn't even allowed to drive a car.
And you have to think, if these civil liberties and rights of Britney Spears are being controlled and taken away in this way, what about people that don't have all the power and money and status? If someone like Britney can have this happen to her, what about the rest of us?
At court proceedings, Britney testified that she had no control over her funds, she had been abused and given substances without consent, urging the court to hold those responsible accountable. As of today, Britney's conservatorship has ended and she has regained control of her life.
That court hearing proceeded without a single objection from anyone involved, including Britney's father, Jamie. But Britney could still have more of a fight ahead of her because, as she said, she wants to see her father in jail.
Number 5, John Lennon's violent marriage.
The trendy John Lennon, one step ahead of everybody else in many ways. At home, he was actually quite Victorian in some of his attitude, even, dare I say it, chauvinist. Is that true?
Well, he could be all those things. He could be Victorian, chauvinist, boring.
The late Beatles singer was known to propagate peace and activism through his musical career, with iconic songs such as Imagine. However, this was not always the case in his personal life when he was younger. John Lennon's first wife, Cynthia Powell, has opened up about John hitting her early on in their relationship.
I mean, John was very, very jealous and very possessive, and I think he actually said that later on in his life in an interview, but not to me.
She described how she lived in fear of his temper during their time together. In multiple interviews and in her book, John, the musician himself admitted that he was a hitter during a Playboy interview, just 2 days before his death.
And you know that for sure.
Number 4, Steven Tyler's assault to history.
You know, when I went to this last rehab, they said, you gotta be careful with your grandiosity. Really? That made me who I am.
Rock star Steven Tyler is best known for his flamboyant outfits and high-pitched screaming as the lead vocalist of the rock band Aerosmith. His androgynous vibe and impressive on-stage acrobatics help make the singer's performance unforgettable. Unfortunately, these tend to overshadow his dark past.
He was making a lot of money for a lot of people. He had a very successful career, and I remember that he really was able to live his life above those kind of questions.
In 1973, Tyler became involved with and obtained legal guardianship of the then-teenaged Julia Holcomb, bringing her to his Boston home when he was 25. Fast forward to 2022, where Holcomb sued Tyler for sexual assault, a forced termination of pregnancy, and supplying her with substances over the course of a 3-year relationship.
I just couldn't imagine my life without him, and I was so young. I just really gave in at that point, and that was where the worst ordeal began.
Number 3, Elvis Presley's inappropriate infatuations. As Elvis Presley rose to fame, he cemented himself as a worldwide heartthrob, lauded for his crooning singing style and his charming appearance. The right age to be an Elvis girl, however, appeared to be 14.
There was a series of 14-year-olds, and up until, really, he was 40.
Yeah, no, it never stopped.
While touring and making movies, the king of rock and roll would seek out teenagers to spend time with, such as Francis Forbes and Sandy Farrer.
Held my hand, kissed me on the cheek, and he was absolutely gorgeous. And then he called and said he wanted to date me, and my mother said, I don't care if you're King Farouk, my daughter's only 14, she doesn't date.
The truth about whether or not these relationships were consummated depends on who you ask. His future wife Priscilla was also only 14 when she met 24-year-old Elvis. After their daughter Lisa Marie was born, Elvis was allegedly also involved in other inappropriate underage relationships.
He just mentioned to me that it took him back to his younger years, made him feel alive to where he just didn't, I wasn't expecting much from him.
Number 2, Axl Rose's troubling childhood.
So easy,
Nothing seems to please me.
At age 17, Axl Rose discovered that the man he thought to be his father was actually his stepfather, the man his mother married following his biological father's departure. Unfortunately, this wouldn't be Rose's only disturbing revelations from childhood.
It was real hard to do the song It's So Easy. Yeah. Because there's a line in there, I drink and drive and everything's in sight. We were talking about kind of how we got away with things and we're lucky to be here.
Therapy later in life would unearth the Guns N' Roses singer's alleged memories of being sexually abused by Rose Sr. His life growing up with his mother and stepfather was also reportedly violent. Rose regularly found himself in trouble with the authorities and finally left home for Los Angeles in his late teens. Many of these experiences are reflected in his music, in songs such as It's So Easy and Welcome to the Jungle, which tackle themes of survival and resilience.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Marvin Gaye's shocking end.
On his last day, Marvin and his father are locked in a power struggle, seething at opposite ends of the house. A lifetime of resentment will soon end in tragedy.
Between the ages of 7 and his teenage years, Marvin Gaye unfortunately suffered much physical abuse at the hands of his father, Marvin Gaye Sr. The singer's father was extremely strict and religious, using his belt as a whip to discipline him. His childhood upbringing eventually led him to enlist in the US Air Force as a teen, but his tenure was brief and he would soon turn to music.
Marvin's childhood was a daily torment, full of pain and confusion. His salvation was music.
Sadly, Marvin Gaye Sr.'s violence towards his son did not end when he became an adult. On April 1st, 1984, Marvin Gaye was shot twice and killed by his own father when he got in the middle of a fight between his parents while he was at their home in California.
Police say the singer and his father started arguing over insurance matters Saturday night, resuming the argument Sunday. Marvin Gaye Sr. is expected to be arraigned sometime this week.
Were you surprised by these jaw-dropping reveals about your favourite stars? Let us know in the comments which truth shocked you the most.
It was possible, wasn't it, that if you hadn't met up with John, you would have had certainly a more stable and possibly overall a happier time?
Possibly, possibly.